Hello, and welcome back to Noted in the Margins with Quinn Stovall. I'm your host, Quinn, and today we're starting out with a banger of an episode. 9 tips for being a D1 student athlete. Okay, so just to preface a little bit about me. I am a varsity track and cross country runner at the University of Pennsylvania. I'm having a great time so far. I'm a sophomore. And yeah, so this episode's really just to talk to anyone who is kind of like new to being a student athlete in college. You may be a high school athlete considering, going to the next level, or maybe you're just curious about the life. So yeah, I just have some very general kind of advice for you. A lot of the stuff may be like self-evident, but we have more specific episodes to come. So this is maybe not going to be groundbreaking stuff, but good stuff to know. Can I kick it? Yes, we can. I'm gone. Starting off strong with number 1. Define what drives you. Okay, so number 1 overall theme is being a student athlete. It's a challenging experience. So also one of the most incredible and rewarding experiences that a person can have, in my opinion. But just know that if you're going to put yourself through the challenges of being a student athlete and you're gonna rise to the occasion every day, then a big strength of yours is knowing your drivers. What do I mean by drivers? Drivers aren't just goals that you write on the wall. Drivers are things that really intrinsically motivate you. For example, some people are highly driven by individual success, while others are kind of really obsessed with team success, right? There's nothing really wrong with either one of those, but some people, for example, if they go to the championship, let's say they're at a championship meet, but they're there alone, they're not going to really feel fulfilled because the team success is kind of an integral driver to them. Whereas a person who's more individually driven might feel fantastic and just they're where they're meant to be because they can really focus on their specific goals. And then there's drivers, some people are very statistically driven. For example, as a runner, you're driven by numbers. How far do you want to jump? How high do you want to jump? How fast do you want to run? Right? In terms of the clock, in terms of the meters, in terms of the seconds. Other people are driven by competition. You just want to win. If you had to rank it all and you could win a race but not PR, then that person who's really obsessed with winning is going to choose winning, right? So those are the kind of specific drivers that I mean. And knowing your drivers, defining your drivers, kind of becoming very well acquainted with them is going to be a big strength of yours in college, because you can tap into what really gets you going when life gets hard, when practices are challenging, when you're running from practice to class and you don't really know what, it's just a good thing to be familiar with your drivers. So my suggestion is, number 1, when you get into college or before you get to college, write down what really resonates the most with you so you can know yourself as an athlete. And okay, the second part, define what drives you. This is my favorite. I've been thinking about this a lot. Create your own underdog story. You're going to create your own personal underdog story. So everyone loves an underdog story. It's kind of the pinnacle of sports, is literally being an underdog, beating the odds, doing what no one thought you could do, or doing what you never said you could do. Wow. I just get a feeling right in here. I'm so inspired just thinking about it. Obviously, I'm from Philadelphia, so classic underdog story, Rocky, right? But you don't necessarily have to be from an underprivileged background to have an underdog story. So regardless of privilege, regardless of where people are in terms of society and things like that, everyone is going to face adversity. I think once you realize that even your most privileged competitors, the ones who had access to fantastic facilities their whole life, or people who come from a lot of wealth, or people who may be like, social benefactors of our society, whatever, they're still gonna have to go through some hard stuff too, stuff that you may not be dealing with. So, you know, you may not have it necessarily objectively harder than someone else. That doesn't mean that you can't tap into something that's going to fuel you from your heart outwards. So, what I would say is write it down, get your notebook out, write it down, and think about the things that kind of peeve you, things that piss you off a little bit. Are you facing some social adversity? You can use that to your success. Are you, dealing with chronic self-doubt? Guess what? You can use that too for your success. Are you dealing with an injury? Oof, that's a great way to launch yourself towards success. Any adversity that you frame as a hurdle to overcome is like, it's going to, I don't know, it's just going to intensify your motivation. Another part of this, what I really think about is like, I always wonder, what goes into being tough. As a college athlete, the toughest person is usually going to like basically reap the benefits of their success or their training. They're going to reap the benefits the best because they're not deterred by challenges. When you race, I know as a middle distance runner, it's painful. It's physically painful. It's mentally challenging. And if you are tough and you're gritty, you're going to excel when you get into that kind of pressure cooker situation. I think a fallacy of toughness is that some people just have it and other people don't. I think another fallacy is that, people who are like societally challenged, when I say societally challenged, you know what I mean? People who, in terms of society, are at the bottom of the totem pole. If you grew up working class, if your family composition is different than like the typical family composition, if you're a person of color, if you're a woman, we all say that these things, they are like, that's an edge and you can use it if you have it. But if you don't have it, it's up to you to find things to fuel you. So you're not necessarily tougher than some privileged, like rich white dude. Like, that's just not the case. You knowing how to use your circumstances and like basically have a story in your back pocket, that is what's going to lend you to be tough. So all I'm saying is toughness is not something you have or don't have. If you create an underdog story, if you think about something that really fuels you, so you have your drivers and then you have, things to kind of get you through hard times, you're going to be an unstoppable force. So yeah, that's the strategy that I use and that I highly recommend because I feel that it's effective so far. Yeah. Okay. Number 2, prioritize your team. Okay, this is, it may seem very obvious to you watching. It felt very obvious to me, but it's not. It's actually not obvious to everyone. Your teammates are going to make or break your experience as a student athlete in college. I believe this with my whole heart. If you have teammates who are aligned with your goals, they're pushing you to be better, they support you, and they want to see you succeed, you're probably going to have a fantastic experience in college. If you have teammates who may feel threatened by your goals, if you have teammates who don't really align with your aspirations in terms of your sport, or teammates who kind of break you down instead of build you up, you're going to have a very different experience. And what you're going to have to do is learn how to manage that experience to fuel you rather than, let it like break you down, or transfer. That's what people do. So, and I think there's nothing wrong with that if it's not working. But yeah, so I think the number one like rule in terms of managing your team as a teammate is focus on what you can control. Are you being the best teammate that you can be? Stop and really think about it. Are you being the best teammate that you can be? Think about your strengths. Is your strength that you are extremely meticulous, you're extremely focused, you're calm, you're steady, you're your feathers just cannot be ruffled? Then that's your strength and play to it and be that for your teammates. Is your strength that you're extremely excitable, you're hype, you bring the energy, you're fiery? If that's your strength, then bring that to your teammates. You know what I mean? Is your strength that you know, you had this amazing ability to brush off failures and like pick yourself back up and keep it going, then that's your strength, bring it to your team. If your strength is that you have extremely, high standards for yourself and you go for it and you're very ambitious, and maybe you put the pressure on your teammates to be better, you put the pressure on yourself to be better, then that's your strength and you should contribute that to the team. Think about your strengths and lean into them in terms of being a teammate, and know that not everyone's strengths are the same. And so, if you're extremely excitable and you notice that your teammate is super calm, super steady, know that that's their strength and you're playing to your strength, and that your team needs both to be successful, in my opinion. And this is what I've kind of learned from some programming here at Penn that student athletes go through. So I think it's really awesome. Yeah, but even like specific strengths aside, there are some things that are universal to being a good teammate. Check in on your teammates when they're feeling down. Ask them how they're doing. Be considerate. Run with integrity and act with integrity. I think there's just nothing like having a teammate that you deeply respect, because they always act with integrity. They're not cutting corners. So handle your business, basically, when you're around your teammates and when you're not around your teammates. So yeah, and then, value your team, like put time and energy into your teammates. If you have team events, go to the team events. So it doesn't really matter if you don't like to do one thing or another. Like my personal opinion is that, especially like if you're a freshman, go to everything once. Even if you're not like a huge party person, just show face. That's what we say. Go and show face and introduce yourself to three new people on your team, and then you can go home and relax on your couch. Okay, so it's things like that. If there's a team dinner and I don't know, it may be a little bit out of your price range, talk to your captain and be like, hey, like this is a little bit pricey for me, but I would love to come. Like, try to see if you can work something out. If you can't, that's okay, but like just prioritize spending time with your team. Movie night, be there. Whatever, trivia night, be there. Like cookout, be there. Just be the person that is very present in terms of like your team events that may be more casual. And then, yeah, I guess overall what I'm saying here is like there's more to being a good teammate than just performing well. This may seem really intuitive to some people. It may not be intuitive to others, but I think a lot of people basically learn it by the end of their college experiences. My gift to you is that you just hear it once going into college, or at the beginning, so that, you can just have it in mind. Like, it's something that you have to work at. Yeah. And then also, okay, you get in what you put out. If you have a big team like I do, like the Penn track and field team is 120 people across both genders, which is huge. It's more people than I graduated high school with. So I was a little bit like intimidated coming in, but just put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Like, you're gonna have to deal with the possibility of rejection from your teammates socially. You may find that your teammates are like super obsessed with like times or your success on the track. Maybe they don't want to talk to you until you're like number one on the team or something like, if that's the case, then you've learned that and you can move on to the next teammate, because you have plenty of options probably in college. So yeah, it's worth putting yourself out there, being a friendly face, and like possibly being like having an awkward situation than just like keeping to yourself and like refusing to talk to anyone. So yes, get out there, prioritize your team, value your team. We didn't talk about what happens, if you're not vibing with your team. I don't have that much experience with this. I do, I love my team. I feel very connected to the women's distance team specifically because, we work out together all week, like pretty much every day. But, what I said in the first tip was have an underdog story. Again, if you're having adversity with your team, maybe that's something that you can use for your underdog story. Furthermore, you're going to have to learn how to work different situations to your advantage. So just know that if your teammates are, they have a very intense competitive like culture, then, that may be frustrating at first, but it's probably going to build you into a stronger runner. And like think about the mental like tricks you can use to basically fuel your success. If you have a team culture that's like very not locked in, people aren't, serious, or they don't really seem like they're about the work, think about the ways that you can basically protect your energy from that. Think about the ways that, again, you can let that fuel you, and also think about ways that you can like influence your teammates. Like, for example, like it's hard to believe that every single person in a room is a slacker. I say slacker. There's there's different circumstances that shape different people's lives, but sometimes you meet people and they're just not really interested in giving their best in various different areas. And I have that too. It just depends on the area of my life. Running is not one of those areas. My academics is not one of those areas. So like certain things, eh. But it's not going to be everybody. It's probably not going to be everybody. You're most likely going to find a teammate who feels the same way you do or felt the same way you do and just like kind of got lost in the sauce a little bit. So I still think it's worth it to try to make connections, try to find a couple good friends, and just like really lean into them. So yes, prioritize your team. Number 3, recovery is everything. So, okay, now that we're in college, we have to know a couple basic things. And if you're a collegiate athlete already, you probably know this. If you're in high school, you probably already know this, but I'm just gonna say it so that it can be said, right? When you work out, you're breaking down your body. When you recover, that's when your body rebuilds back stronger. So, you are actively getting better as you work out because you're breaking down your body and you're giving yourself the stimuluses, you're creating muscle memory, you're doing all the things that, it's practice. You're practicing to optimize your competition, basically. But like your body gets better when you rest, when you sleep, when you fuel properly, when you roll out, when you ice, when you do all of the extra stuff outside of practice time. If you're treating your body right, that's when you really reap the benefits. I've heard it said that if you don't eat within a certain time window after a workout, like you're losing a lot of your benefits, you're losing a lot of your gains. The point of all of this is that, you become a champion, not while you're at practice, but the other 21 hours of the day. So let's make sure that we're building a schedule that's conducive to letting your body adapt to your training. So yes, recovery is everything. Here are some practical tips for that. Number 1, develop a relationship with your trainer. Your trainer is going to be one of the most important people that you meet in college in terms of your student athlete success. These people are experts. I will say the trainer at Penn, there's 2. The one who's year round, who I work with during cross country season as well as in the track season. He's amazing. His name is Mo. Shameless plug. He's great. But yeah, so trainers are like partially responsible for your health. You are the number 1 person who's accountable and responsible for your health. Then there's your trainer, then there's your coach. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you develop a relationship with them so you have someone in your corner who's going to advocate for you and who's going to give you the tools to like optimize on your success, optimize on your training, prevent injury, all of those types of things. The ways to develop a relationship with your trainer, I think the number 1 thing is be in the training room. So our sprints team talks about this and our coaches talk about it, but like Thursdays are our days off. But they were like, we want to see you in the training room on Thursdays. Are you there on your day off? Are you coming in? It doesn't have to take a long time. Are you coming in, you rolling out, roll out your feet a little, do some stretch, do some mobility, maybe do some preventative like prehab, take an ice bath, take a warm bath, like just kind of put around in there. Familiarize yourself with the training room. Don't just go in there when you're injured, because that's not really like the right association to have with like keeping up with your body. Just like think of it as general upkeep, general maintenance. I would say every time you're in the training room, say hi to your trainer, ask how they're doing, be friendly, be respectful. If you like set up a meeting with your trainer, try to be on time, really try to be on time. Stuff happens, but like respect your trainer's time. They have a lot of stuff to do, a lot of people to keep track of. Yeah, be in the training room, respect the rules of the training room, respect your trainer's time, be nice to them. It's kind of all you really need to do. Be honest with them, be very honest with them. And if they like give you a regimen or a plan, if you're working on something like strengthening, do it. So yeah. Okay, so that's recovery in terms of building a relationship with your trainer. The next part is build your schedule around physical recovery. So you don't just have to be in the training room to recover. Obviously, like, come back to your dorm, put your legs up if you have some time. I would say put it in your Google Calendar. So yeah, put it in your Google Calendar. Just like leave an extra 30-40 minutes in a day to just like go hit the recovery boots and type away in your computer and do your homework or fix up your resume or whatever. Like, you can do that. Just stuff like that. If you have like a tutorial to watch, like put it on your phone, like lean over the edge of the ice bath and just do that. So it is very doable, but you're just gonna have to like manage your time so that you can't forget to do it or you can't get away from it. Just make sure it's kind of non-negotiable. And then also recovery, mental recovery, just as important as physical recovery. Yeah, I'm trying to think about an example. For example, let's say it's finals week. It's your first finals week, you're a freshman. I know, for example, my first finals week I found to be mentally exhausting and emotionally exhausting because I've never studied for 8 hours in a day for days on end. I did not do that in high school. So just know that that's a new challenge. It's okay to be exhausted, but that's going to impact your physical capabilities. And it's going to impact like how you feel at practice. Like maybe you're really stressed about a test, you go to sleep and you're not sleeping as well as you normally would because you're stressed or you're anxious. That's going to impact your practice the next day, right? Oh, oopsie, sorry. That's going to impact your practice the next day. So taking time to take care of yourself mentally, take care of yourself emotionally, that is well worth your while. It's extremely important to your success because you're managing stress. Stress accumulates in your body, right? So yeah, and also like I'll talk about this in the coach session, so more to come on that. More to come. Okay, and then the last part, you can't beat sleep. It's non-negotiable. Get yourself 8.5, 9 hours of sleep a night. Get more sleep than you need. Take a nap. If you're tired and you know you're not going to get enough sleep, like I for example, I was in an a cappella group last year, and I knew there was a week right before our show that I would be getting less sleep because our practices ran pretty late. And I sat down the week before and I took a nap every day because I was getting like less than 8 hours of sleep a night. And then I at least take 20-30 minute nap during the day, rest your eyes, be in your bed, like just plan it out. Do all your studying the week before, overload it so you can sleep because that is a super huge part of maintaining your health. So yeah, sleep prevents injuries. Sleep prevents you from getting sick, which is a very real factor, especially as a freshman. You're gonna get freshman flu. Just know that can impact your training as well. So yes. Okay, that was number 3, recovery is everything. Number 4. This comes along with recovery. Never underestimate the importance of fueling. Okay, this is a huge point. And I'm going to start this off by saying I'm not a registered dietitian. I'm not a nutritionist. So I'm only going to tell you the stuff that I have learned from our nutritionist at Penn and from a nutritionist who visited my running camp when I was in high school. And talking to these women, maybe 3 women about nutrition have absolutely changed the game in terms of like the way I view nutrition. And yeah, so I'm just reciting what I know, but I think that if you are curious about more specifics, that you should find a reputable source near you. But yes, the importance of fueling. Number 1 point with fueling, athlete nutrition is specific to you, specific to your specialty. It's specific to being an athlete. When you come to college, you're going to be surrounded by people who don't prioritize different things, and who do prioritize different things. Okay? So it's a give and a take. I know at Penn, people are like very obsessed with their professional life, very obsessed with their academic success, very obsessed with clubs, club applications, club success. A lot of people are not necessarily prioritizing sleep. They're definitely not necessarily prioritizing food. And this is going to be another episode. We'll talk about eating culture at Penn. But yeah, you're gonna probably hear some comments that reflect mindsets about food that you don't need to have as an athlete. You don't need to have that mindset. So just know that like your nutrition it's based on your event. Another thing is like, you'll be sitting with other athletes. The squash players are not going to eat the same as the football players. Probably. I don't know. The middle distance runners, the long distance runners are not going to eat the same as the throwers. Probably. Because we have different demands. We have different goals on our, so it's okay to sit down next to your teammate and have a different looking plate than them. It may feel awkward. I don't know. Maybe you're not used to that, but, you got to do what you got to do. I know for sure that I've sat down with some non-athlete friends, especially last year in the dining hall, and I'm going back for more plates of food because I need to fuel up. I have long run the next day. I'm trying to get 2-3 plates of pasta, and bread and fruit and then some protein. Like, they're sitting there with one plate of food. Do not feel shame about that. Do not let someone else shame you about that. You need to do what you need to do. So that's when you're sitting down. You've already gotten yourself to the place of fueling, the location of fueling. But let's talk about like getting yourself there. So it's very easy to underfuel as a college athlete. You're busy. You don't have a lunchtime like you do in high school. It can be hard it can be very easy to underfuel. Your mind's in a million different places. You may be sitting in class and realize that you haven't eaten for like 7 hours and just be shocked because you were so busy. You were just trying to get to class and all of a sudden it hits you like a truck. Crap, I'm extremely hungry right now. So to avoid that situation, here's some practical tips. Number 1 practical tip, always have food on your person. Athletes, it's like snacking is very important. As an athlete. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You don't have to consolidate your food into meals. This is what I've learned as a middle distance athlete, again, from a nutritionist who came and talked to our team. But her name is Maddie Alm, just a plug. She's a great podcast, and I really enjoyed her talk with us. But yes, have food on your person. Number 2, when you're building your schedule around your class schedule at the start of a semester, put in when you're going to eat. If you are looking at your class schedule and you see that there's no breaks for lunch, you don't have time for lunch, try to change your schedule or figure out a system so that you can eat in class. If your professor says that you can't eat in class, talk to your professor because there's no reason for you to be going all day without eating as an athlete. It's just don't let it happen. I would say don't let it happen. And the reason why is because fueling can make the difference between a good and a great athlete. It can make the difference between having a perfectly healthy year where you're building towards success and you're getting your goals, all that stuff. And it can make the difference between getting injured halfway through the year because the stress had accumulated and you weren't properly fueling. Yes. The other part of fueling is your body, right? Like, let's not beat around the bush here. A lot of the struggles that people have with fueling have to do with body image. They have to do with how you feel in your body, like physically. Obviously, for example, I'm going to give you a personal example. When I was in high school, I didn't realize that you had to eat as much as you did before long runs. I actually don't think that I knew that you had to eat the morning before you went on your long run. So I thought it was perfectly normal to get out there, be on my long run, and they weren't very long. And for the last 2-3 miles, be absolutely fighting to continue to run because I was so exhausted. And I was like, oh, that's just a long run grind. And then afterwards when your stomach feels all empty and you're like, I just thought that was normal. I literally thought it was normal. I went to running camp that year. We had a nutritionist come and talk to us. And she basically told us that's not normal. And I was like, what? I simply didn't know. When I started to fuel before my long runs, start to fuel sometimes during long runs if they're longer, start to fuel immediately after long runs, the quality of my runs went up tremendously. And the way that I felt inside my body during those runs was absolutely like day and night. So I just want to let you know, if you're feeling really weak during your training, you don't feel like you can keep up, take a look at your fueling. That's going to be very instrumental in how you feel. But yes, we're talking about body image. So that's how you feel in your body, right? When you're training, do you feel powerful? Do you feel weak? That could be an indication of your fueling, strengths and weaknesses. But also, know that in college, your body is going to change. You're a human being. I'm especially talking to my female athletes because I think we have a lot of stigma around this. But I mean, it's just as true for male athletes. It's just as true for anyone who's going into college. Your body's probably going to change. There's a lot of factors that relate to that, right? Some factors are completely out of your control. You may be dealing with, I don't know, you may be dealing with different stresses. You may be dealing with different hormonal challenges or hormonal changes. I don't think they're challenges. For example, last year, I'll just share, I started birth control. And we all know that birth control can impact the way that your body functions on a day-to-day, and that can impact your eating, it can impact your sleep, it can impact bloating, it can impact this and that and the third. So there's a lot of different factors that go into the way your body develops throughout college, but know that it's probably going to change, and know that it's perfectly healthy and normal for you not to look like the way you did in high school. I don't know, that doesn't have to, it really shouldn't be a goal of yours. Great athletes are strong, they're sturdy. Luckily, we live in this time where there's a lot of advocacy around basically healthy fueling practices as elite athletes. I love that I can turn on the TV and see Ellie St. Pierre, and she has a son, and she just looks strong, capable. I love that I can turn on the TV and see Juliet Whitaker, and she looks strong and capable. Those are my idols, and they look fit and they look strong and they look healthy. They don't look emaciated or underfueled, which used to be the norm back in the day. So just quick acknowledgement that we're living in a better time than I think runners before us. But yeah, the main point here is that your body's going to change in college. Don't eat against change. It's okay for you to gain some weight in college. You probably will. And I think it's if you're doing if you're healthy and you're training well, then that's probably exactly as it should be. You're going to gain muscle in college. You're going to fill out. You might get taller. You just really don't know. Your body might develop in terms of literally puberty, development. Because a lot of times that runs into college. I had that experience last year and I was shocked. So don't eat against progress. Eat with progress. Fuel your training, fuel your body. And if you're having struggles with it, my suggestion, talk to someone. Talk to your coach, talk to a teammate if you need to, talk to a therapist, because that is very real. You deserve to fuel your hard work. Okay, number 5, set scary goals. This is a big one. Just know, if you're a freshman in college, if you're a high school senior looking at colleges, or whatever, this is a whole new ballgame, okay? Your high school performances, your high school identity, your high school, self, that is not necessarily who you have to be in college. You have an opportunity, everyone talks about socially, you have a chance to reinvent yourself in college. You have a chance to reinvent yourself athletically in college. There's not going to be as many disparities across programs as there may be in high school. It kind of depends, on the funding of your school, of your college. But let's say you're D1, for example, a lot of D1 programs have similar, training philosophies, universal training philosophies. So the facilities may be different, the location may be different. If you're training at altitude in Colorado, yeah, you're gonna have a different experience than if you're training in Florida. But I don't know, the playing field is going to be very evened when you get into college. It's up to you to be ambitious enough to go for the goals that you really want, okay? Plenty of people were kind of mediocre high school athletes, and they can get into college and be standout athletes in terms of the field. And that's because they took control of their own destiny and they set scary goals. Now, my rule of thumb for me, is, and you can see my goals in the back here, okay? But If failure is not an ever-present possibility for my goals, they're probably not ambitious enough. That's why you say set scary goals. If you set a goal that you absolutely can get, like, I don't know, where's the fun in that? Where's the fun in that? You cannot let the fear of failure detract you or deter you from like reaching your full potential. So yes, even like, I think we hear this a lot, like this kind of discourse a lot in the running community, like kind of be delusional, even be a little bit delusional, be a little bit like, have a little pep in your step, be a little cocky. There's no one's going to fault you for failing. And if they do, they're probably not like setting ambitious enough goals for themselves. So yes, go for it. Overall, go for it. Then on top of that, as a newcomer, let's say you're a freshman, you've set ambitious goals for yourself and you're having a team meeting where everyone's talking about their goals. Please do not let others make you like lose belief in your goals. Don't let other people diminish your goals or dismiss your goals. As a freshman, you're dealing with a lot of change. It's a big adjustment, and that's not to be taken for granted at all. Also, as a freshman, like, you're fresh, like, you're a fresh person, okay? You have multiple opportunities. You have more opportunities than anyone else on the team to actually get your goals. You have more time than anyone else. So, people are going to give you more leeway, which is logical. However, your goals are specific to you. If you say your goal and it's pretty fast and an upperclassman tells you, oh, that's great and you're a freshman, so like if you don't get it this year, that's okay. Like, don't let that take you away from your goals. They probably like, I don't know, that's their perspective. That's not your perspective. So do what you need to do. And like, also, no, there's no such thing as waiting your turn. If you're a freshman and you want to win your conference, go ahead and win your conference. Because by the time you're a senior, and let's say you're a senior, you've waited your turn to win your conference, guess who's going to go ahead and win the conference? The freshman who had the audacity to do it. So let's not wait around. Let's go for it and be ambitious. Yes. And then the last part, you get to define the expiration date on your goals. When I say expiration date, what I mean to you is like the exciting part about goals is that they have a time limit on them, or they don't really have a time limit, but they have a timeline to them. So if I set a goal, I usually want to get it by the end of the season. However, if we're setting goals that are scary enough, let's say we fail, it's not really failing, but it's a learning opportunity. You don't get your goal in the time that you set out to get it. What are you going to do? What you do in the face of not getting your goals is just as important to your identity as an athlete as what you do when you get your goals or what you do in pursuit of your goals, right? Like, take like 24 hours to feel sorry for yourself, get up the next morning and get back to work. That's all you really need to do. Kind of brush it off your shoulders. Don't let it crush you. Much easier said than done. But, sit down, think about like, what were the factors that kind of hindered you from getting your goal on the day? Was your self-talk a little bit off? Did you feel self-doubt on the line? Did you feel doubt in the third quarter of the race? Whatever it is, take the time to like really like analyze your race and then pick yourself back up and go for it again. And then, when I said expiration date, I don't really believe that goals ever really expire. They're not registered like null and void if you don't get them in the time that you don't want to get them. What I mean by that is, let's say you wanted to run 2:04 by the end of indoor season and you don't do it. Well, you say to yourself, all right, well, I want to get 2:04 in the outdoor season. Sometimes your fitness is to a point of where that goal isn't even really scary anymore. So sometimes your goals will expire, meaning you kind of surpass them. Even if you haven't hit 2:04 yet, maybe the next season you say, oh, my fitness is good enough that I want to run 2:03, 2:02. So your goal has like expired, but no, it hasn't though, because you're still gonna get it. It just may not be your main focus. It's kind of like a progression point onto the next thing. So yes, set scary goals. What's up? It's your girl Quinn, back again on a different day after practice. So if you're loving the video so far, just know it's actually not finished. There's a part 2 posted on my channel. So yeah, that was 5 of 9 tips for being a D1 track athlete in college. If you're looking for the last 4, head on back to my channel, watch the rest of the video. If you liked what you heard and what you saw, and you're looking for an hour-long segment just to listen, relax while you're on your long run, while you're driving to school, while you're doing your chores, check out my podcast. It's going to be listed in the description box. You can get this full episode all in one without part 1, part 2, plus more episodes to come. Ciao. Can I kick it?